Thank you all for coming, and I'm very excited to share the rest of chapter 6 with you right now. And just to remind you, the last thing we read was about the compass that Mary Poppins, she spots it when she's walking in the park with the kids on the day that Michael is being very, very naughty. Here, I'll just take you to the beginning of chapter 6 in case you've forgotten the whole thing. Michael does all these naughty things, and yeah, he's just very, very bad at that time. He kicks the Miss Brill, and he is rude to Mary Poppins about his bath. He wakes up Robertson A. He ties Andrew the dog's tail to the fence. He goes into his father's study and spills the ink on the desk, says rude words to his mom. It was just really bad behavior. And when they were walking in the park, he's feeling very grumpy, and then Mary Poppins tells him to go get that thing that's shiny in the way, like in the grass, and it's a compass, and then he wants to keep it, but Mary Poppins says, no, it's mine. Okay, so if you want to scan into the group right now to get the recording, if you need it, go ahead and do that. I'll give you 5 good seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And before I forget, next week, I will be reading on Monday. Okay, so it's Friday. We're going to have the weekend. I will be reading on Monday night and Wednesday and Friday. So we will have a whole nother week of Mary Poppins because we're just taking our time and enjoying the story. Okay, so Mary Poppins is holding the compass, and then she says north. And suddenly they are in a place that is covered in big ice chunks, and they're on the snow, and there's a big polar bear that comes up and gives Mary Poppins a hug and tries to offer the group fish or shrimp. And the polar bear even licks the children. They're feeling kind of afraid. But the compass, like I said, when Mary Poppins said north, then they went north, and that's when they ended up in the very cold place where the polar bear was. Okay, so if you look at this little compass here in the corner, the N is at the top, and N means north. So N means you're going up. And on the world, if you go up to the very north, like the top part of the circle of the earth, it's cold. It's called the Arctic Circle, and there's snow and ice there, and polar bears and penguins live there. So you see on this map, the white part, like at the top, and the bottom part, that's also cold, but they go north. So they're at the top Arctic Circle, that white part. That's where they see the polar bear, okay? So the last thing Mary Poppins said was, we are on a trip around the world. We can't stay. Now this is the polar bear talking. Well, do let me get you a little snack. It will take me a jiffy. It won't take me a jiffy. Sorry, 1 second, friends. Okay. He sprang into the blue-green water and came up with a herring. Now you see, here's a picture of a herring. I wish you could have stayed for a chat. He tucked the fish into Mary Poppins' hand. I long for a bit of gossip. Another time, she said, and thank you for the fish. Okay, so the polar bear dove into the water to get a fish to share with Mary Poppins and the kids. I wanted to show you a video of what that actually looks like, the way that polar bears can catch fish in the water. It's amazing because, you know, they're huge, and they don't have fins or flippers, but they have big paws, and they use those paws to push the water very well. compass isn't in the Arctic Circle because there's no snow in these videos. That polar bear was in a zoo. But it's still interesting to see. And that's the same way they would catch the fish if they were in a natural environment. Okay, so Mary Poppins says, I'm sorry, we can't stay. The polar bear gives her a fish. And then Mary Poppins gets the compass and says, south. Okay, so going south, let me just show you a map, another map. So the S is at the bottom of that compass. You see the N was at the top. So north is up, south is down. So they went from being up at the top where the snowy part was down to South America. And you see that's on the map there. And in South America, it seemed to Jane and Michael that the world was spinning round them. As they felt the air getting soft and warm, they found themselves in a leafy jungle from which came a noisy sound of squawking. Welcome, shrieked a large hyacinth macaw who was perched on a branch with outstretched wings. You're just the person we need, Mary Poppins. My wife's off gadding and I'm left to sit on the eggs. Do take a turn, there's a good girl. I need to rest. He lifted a spread wing cautiously, disclosing a nest of 2 white eggs. And if you see from my picture here, I have a hyacinth macaw. That's the all blue one. But I found another picture of a different sort of macaw that has 2 eggs beside it. So that's what the eggs would look like, those 2 little eggs. Alas, this is just a passing visit. We are on our way around the world. Gracious! What a journey! Well, stay for a little moment so you can get some sleep. If you can look after all those creatures, he nodded at the children. You can keep 2 small eggs warm. Do, Mary Poppins. I'll get you some bananas instead of that wriggling fish. It was a present, said Mary Poppins. Well, well, keep it if you must. But what madness to go gallivanting around the world when you could stay and bring up your nestlings? Bring up our nestlings, excuse me. Why should we spend our time sitting when you could do it as well? Better, you mean, sniffed Mary Poppins. Then, to Jane and Michael's disappointment, they would have dearly loved some tropical fruit. She shook her head decisively and said, East. Okay, so the next place they're going to go is east. And they were only here in the south for just a little while, but they had time to meet a macaw. So let's learn a little bit about the hyacinth macaw. This is an interesting video. I'll share it with you now.
Do you guys want to see the largest parrot in the world? There he is! This is Sammy. Sammy is a hyacinth macaw, sometimes called a blue macaw, and they are the largest of all of the parrot species. So what makes a macaw so special? Macaws come in a variety of different colors. Hyacinth macaws like Sammy are all blue. So when you look up at them in the tree, they blend right in with the sky. Should we tell him? Do you want me to tell him? Yeah. Do you guys want to know a secret? Sammy's beak also comes in handy when he wants to climb. He can use it just like a hand. Come a little closer. Well, not that close. And you can see a little bit of the skin around his eyes and his beak. He even has a little yellow stripe on his tongue. Macaws live in South American forests where there are trees filled with nuts, and they especially love Brazil nuts. Let's see if we can break this Brazil nut. Whoa, that was a lot of work. I wonder how macaws break open a nut like that. Sammy just uses his strong hooked beak to crush open the shell to eat the nut or the seed inside. Really impressive. Macaws are messy eaters, but that's okay. The seed parts that they drop may grow to become new trees. Take a look at Sammy's feet. All parrots have zygodactyl feet. The word zygodactyl is just a fancy way of saying that he has 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. Macaws can use their feet like hands to grab food and other items. So with the bright colors, the strong feet, and the super powerful beak, these guys really are the giants of the parrot family.
Wow, it's amazing. It's especially amazing to see for me to see the tongue. I've never seen an animal with a yellow tongue like that. Cool. All right, so that's the hyacinth macaw from South America. Now back to the story. The last thing Mary Poppins said was east. All right, let me find my spot. I can't find it. Oh, again, the world was spinning around them. Or were they spinning around the world? And then, whichever it was, ceased. They found themselves in a grassy clearing surrounded by bamboo trees. Green paper-like leaves rustled in the breeze. And above that quiet swishing, they could hear a steady rhythmic sound, a snore. Or was it a purr? Glancing round, they beheld a large furry shape, black with blotches of white, or was it white with blotches of black? They could not really be sure. Jane and Michael gazed at each other. Was it a dream from which they would wake? Or were they seeing, of all things, a panda? A panda in its own home and not behind bars in a zoo. The dream, if it was a dream, drew a long breath. Whoever it is, please go away. I rest in the afternoon. The voice was as furry as the rest of him. Very well, then we will go away, and then perhaps. Mary Poppins' voice was at its most priggish. You'll be sorry you missed us. The panda opened one black eye. Oh, it's you, my dear girl, he said sleepily. Why not have let me know you were coming? Difficult though it would have been. For you, I would have stayed awake. The furry shape yawned and stretched itself. Oh, well, I'll have to make a home for you all. But there wouldn't be enough room in mine. He nodded at a neat shelter made of leaves and bamboo sticks. But, he added, eyeing the herring, I will not allow that scaly seething under my roof of and under any roof of mine. Fishes are too fishy for me. Okay, Mary Poppins said they were going to go east, right? Well, they went east to China, which is where we are. And if you look at the map, east is that E pointing this way. So east to China, it makes sense, right? They went north to the Arctic Circle, down to South America, south to South America, east to China, where the pandas live. We shall not be staying, Mary Poppins assured him. We're taking a little trip around the world and just looked in for a moment. What nonsense! The panda gave an enormous yawn. Traipsing wildly round the world when you can stay here with me? Never mind, my dear Mary, you always do what you want to do. However absurd and foolish, pluck a few young bamboo shoots. They'll sustain you till you get home. And you too, he nodded at Jane and Michael. Tickle me gently behind the ears. That always sends me to sleep. Eagerly, they sat down beside him and stroked the silky fur. Never again, they were sure of it, would they have the chance of stroking a panda. The furry shape settled itself. As they stroked, the snore, or purr, began its rhythm. Now, you guys know what snoring is. Usually, some adults snore when they sleep, they make a sound like, or sometimes it's really loud, like, but that is just not pleasant to listen to. And that actually hurt my nose. Oh, when I just tried that. But cats, when they're happy and when they are comfortable, cats go like this. That's called purring. They really make a sound that sounds just like that. Well, when pandas sleep, they make a sound that's kind of somewhere in between. And I actually have a video of a panda sleeping, and I'm going to share it with you. But you've got to listen closely because it's not very, very loud. But it is, the video is called A Panda Snoring. So let's see what we think. All right. Oh, big yawn. That's a little baby. So cute. Oh, oh, oh my goodness. Stretch, and then it settles down in. Oh my goodness, so cute. Oh, that makes me want to get a baby panda bear, but I don't think I'm allowed. Okay, if you thought that was cute, give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, it's not okay, exactly. We agree. We agree. It's super cute. Oh, that was so cute. In fact, it makes me want to cuddle with the panda. It makes you want to hold the panda and just cuddle it. So cute. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I see them and I'm so glad you agree with me. Okay, let's keep reading. All right, so they are stroking the panda behind its ears and it settles in and falls asleep. He's asleep, said Mary Poppins softly. We mustn't wake him again. She beckoned to the children, and as they came on tiptoe toward her, she gave a flick of her wrist, and the compass apparently understood, for the spinning began again. Hills and lakes, mountains and forest went waltzing round them to unheard music, and then the world was still, as if it had never moved. This time they found themselves on a long white shore, with wavelets lapping and curling against it, and immediately before them there was a cloud whirling, swirling sand from which came a series of grunts. Then, slowly, the cloud settled, disclosing a large black and gray dolphin with a young one at her side. Is that you, Amelia? Called Mary Poppins. The dolphin blew some sand from her nose and gave a start of surprise. Well, of all people, it's Mary Poppins! You're just in time to share our sand bath. Nothing like a sand bath for the cleansing of the fins and tail. I had a bath this morning, thank you. Well, what about those young ones, my dear? Couldn't they do with a bit of scouring? They have no fins and tails, said Mary Poppins, much to the children's disappointment. They would like to have a roll in sand. Well, what on earth are you doing here? Amelia said briskly. Oh, just going round the world, you know, Mary Poppins said airily, as though going round the world was a thing you did every day. Well, it's a treat for Froggy and me, isn't it, Froggy? Amelia butted him with her nose, and the young dolphin gave a friendly squeak. I call him Froggy because he strays so often, just like a frog would a wooing go, whether his mother would let him go or no, don't you, Froggy? His answer was another squeak. Well, now for a meal. What would you like? Amelia grinned at Jane and Michael, displaying a splendid array of teeth. There's cockles and mussels alive, alive, and there's seaweed here is excellent. Thank you kindly, I'm sure, Amelia, but we have to be home in half a minute. Mary Poppins laid a firm hand on the handle of the perambulator. Amelia was clearly disappointed. Whatever kind of visit is that? Hello and goodbye in the same breath. Next time you must stay for tea, and we'll all sit together on a rock and sing a song to the moon. Eh, Froggy? Froggy squeaked. That will be lovely, said Mary Poppins, and Jane and Michael echoed her words. They had never yet sat on a rock and sung to the moon. Well, au revoir, one and all. By the way, Mary, my dear, were you going to take that herring with you? Amelia greedily eyed the fish. The dolphin wants to eat it, which, fearing the worst was about to happen, made itself limp as it could in Mary Poppins' hand. So the fish is playing dead. No, I'm planning to throw it back in the sea. The herring gasped with relief. A very proper decision, Mary. Amelia toothily smiled. We get so few of them in these parts, and they make a delicious meal. Why don't we race for it, Froggy and me? When you say go, we'll start swimming and see who gets it first. Okay, now, so let's just remind ourselves. They went north, south, east, and west. And when they went west, they went all the way to, so what I've highlighted, that's the United States. But there's a part of the United States right here. This is the farthest west you can go. This is called the West Coast. And off the West Coast, you'll see dolphins in the ocean. So they went here where I'm putting this green mark. Oh, here, let me try to make it a black mark instead. They went right here, all the way west, and you see the way the compass is pointing west is that way. So they went north, south, east, east to China, west to America, the west coast of America. All right, so Mary Poppins has the herring. She's gonna throw it into the water and see who gets it. Mary Poppins held the fish aloft. Ready, steady, go, she cried. As if it were a bird rather than a fish, the herring swooped and splashed into the sea. The dolphins were after it in a second. Two dark, striving shapes rippling through the water. Jane and Michael could hardly breathe. Which would win the prize, or would the prize escape? Froggy, 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 yelled Michael. If the herring had to be caught and eaten, he wanted Froggy to win. Froggie! The wind and sea both cried the name, but Michael's voice was stronger. What do you think you're doing, Michael? Mary Poppins sounded ferocious. Okay, now they're cheering for who's going to win, the mother or the child. And I'm going to show you a video of dolphins doing a very interesting thing. Usually dolphins swim in the water to catch fish, of course, but sometimes the fish are really smart, and you know what the fish do? The fish, they swim very, very close to the sand where the water is very shallow, so only the little fish can fit in the water. The dolphins are way too big. But now you're going to see how dolphins, they're so strong and they're so smart, and they figure out how to get the fish. So let's enjoy and learn from these dolphins here.
In Western Australia, these dolphins have taken on an even tougher challenge. The fish have taken refuge close to the beach, where the water is only a few centimeters deep. tail slapping is a method dolphins often use to stun their prey, but it doesn't seem to work here.
Do you guys see those fish swimming? I'm going to circle them. It's really hard to see. The dolphins can see them clearly. The fish are swimming right here. And if you look closely, you can see like little bits of green in the water. Those are the fish, like a brownish green. Okay, so watch closely for it.
Are tantalizingly close, but they're still out of reach. So the dolphins try another technique. Vigorously pumping their tails, they work up some speed. And then they hydroplane.
Got it.
Their momentum carries them right through the shallowest waters and onto the fish.
Wow.
Now they're in real danger of being stranded.
Oh no.
But fortune favors the brave.
So what can happen if the dolphin jumps too far into the shallow water? They can get stuck on the sand, and it's called when they're beached. That means they're stuck on the beach. So the dolphin needs to be careful. But look, the water is coming up, and the water can help them get off the beach. What the dolphin did was it got far away, and it went so fast that when it started to jump, it would slide on the shallowest of water so it could catch the fish.
Younger dolphins lie alongside, watching. But so far, only 8 individuals here have mastered this daring
those are some
technique.
long fish. Oh, got it. Oh my goodness. Got it. Oh, wow. Wasn't that cool to see how they do that? It's amazing. All right, let's keep reading. Vera, you're cheering for the dolphin? Yeah, I cheer for the dolphin too. I think it's amazing how they figured that out. God built their body so well to think to know what to do, you know? Okay. So Michael's cheering, Froggy, Froggy. He glanced at Mary Poppins for a moment and then turned again to the sea. But the sea was not there. Nothing but a neat green lawn. Jane, agog beside him, the twins in the perambulator, and Mary Poppins pushing it in the middle of the park. Jumping up and down, shouting, making a nuisance of yourself. One would think you had done enough for one day. Step along at once, please. Round the world and back in a minute. What a wonderful box, said Jane. It's a compass. Not a box, and it's mine, said Michael. I found it. Give it to me. My compass, thank you, said Mary Poppins as she slipped it into her pocket. He looked as if he would like to kill her. Ooh. But he shrugged his shoulders and stalked off, taking notice of no one. The burning weight still hung heavily within Michael. After the adventure with the compass, he seemed to grow worse. And towards the evening, he grew even naughtier and naughtier. He punched the twins when Mary Poppins was not looking. And when they cried, he said in a falsely kind voice, "My darlings, what is the matter?" But Mary Poppins was not deceived by it. "You've got something coming to you," she said significantly. But the burning thing inside him would not let him care. He just shrugged his shoulders and pulled Jane's hair. And after that, he went to the supper table and upset his bread and milk, which means he spilled it on purpose. "And that," said Mary Poppins, "is the end. Such deliberate naughtiness I never saw. In all my born days, I never did. And that's a fact. Off you go, straight into bed with you, and not another word." He had never seen her look so terrible. But still, he didn't care. He went into the night nursery and undressed. No, he didn't care. He was bad. And if they didn't look out, he'd be worse. He didn't care. He hated everybody. And if they weren't careful, he would run away and join a circus. There. Off went a button. Good. There would be fewer to do in the morning. And another. All the better. Nothing in the world could ever make him feel sorry. He would get into bed without brushing his hair or his teeth, certainly without saying his prayers. He was just about to get into bed, and indeed, with one foot already in it, when he noticed the compass lying on the top of the chest of drawers. Very slowly, he withdrew his foot and tiptoed across the room. He knew now what he would do. He would take the compass and spin it and go round the world, and they'd never find him again, and it would serve them right. Without making a sound, he lifted a chair and put it against the chest of drawers. Then he climbed up on it and took the compass in his hand. He moved it. "North, south, east, west," he said very quickly, in case anybody should come in before he got well away. A noise behind the chair startled him, and he turned around guiltily, expecting to see Mary Poppins. But instead, there were 4 gigantic figures bearing down upon him. A bear with its fangs showing, a macaw fiercely flapping its wings, a panda bear with his fur on end, a dolphin thrusting out her snout. From all corners of the room, they were rushing at him, their shadows huge on the ceiling. No longer kind and friendly, they were now full of revenge. Their terrible, angry faces loomed nearer. He could feel their hot breath on his face. "Oh, oh!" Michael dropped the compass. "Mary Poppins, help me!" he screamed and shut his eyes in terror. And then something enveloped him. The great creatures and their shadows, with a mingled roar or squawk of triumph, flung themselves on him. What was it that held him, soft and warm in its smothering embrace? Polar bear's fur coat? The macaw's feathers? The panda's fur that had stroked so gently? The mother dolphin's flipper? And what was he, or might she be, planning to do with him? If only he had been good. If only! "Mary Poppins!" he wailed as he felt himself carried through the air and set down in something still softer. "Oh, dear Mary Poppins!" All right, all right. I'm not deaf, I'm thankful to say. No need to shout," he heard her say calmly. He opened one eye. He could see no sign of 4 gigantic figures of the compass. He opened the other eye to make sure. Not a glint of any of them. He sat up. He looked around the room. There was nothing there. Then he discovered that the soft thing that was around him was his own blanket. And the soft thing that he was lying on was his own bed. And oh, the heavy burning thing that would have been inside him all day melted and disappeared. He felt peaceful and happy, as if he would like to give everybody he knew a birthday present. What happened?" he said rather anxiously to Mary Poppins. "I told you that was my compass, didn't I?" "Be kind enough not to touch my things, if you please," was all she said when she stooped down and picked up the compass and put it in her pocket. Then she began to fold the clothes that he had thrown down on the floor. "Shall I do it?" he said. "No, thank you." He watched her go into the next room. Presently she returned and put something warm into his hands. It was a cup of milk. Michael sipped it, tasting every drop several times with his tongue, making it last as long as possible so that Mary Poppins should stay beside him. She stood there without saying a word, watching the milk slowly disappear. He could smell her crackling white apron and the faint flavor of toast that always hung about her so deliriously. But try as he would, he could not make the milk last forever. And presently, with a sigh of regret, he handed her the cup and slipped down into bed. He had never known it to be so comfortable, he thought. And he thought, too, how warm he was, and how happy he felt, and how lucky to be alive. "Isn't it a funny thing, Mary Poppins?" he said drowsily. "I've been so very naughty, and I feel so very good." "Humph!" said Mary Poppins, as she tucked him in, and went away to wash up the supper things.